So anyway, let's move on to another feature of the greenhouse, and that is our subterranean heating cooling system. And we got the idea from the Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute, but we're utilizing a lot of instructions from a guy named Sunny John at sunnyjohn.com. And so what we're doing is we're going to be pulling air from the top of the greenhouse here, the warm air, and it's going to be driven down into the ground through these drums here and into irrigation tubing that goes underground. And so we actually have, let me step back a minute, we actually will have two intake towers, this one here and this one here. And ultimately there's going to be two of these recycled 55-gallon drums, one on top of the other, that we're going to be connecting. And we're going to put a fan in the middle. There's going to be one over here and one over here. And there's all these irrigation tubes going through the ground. I can give you a sense of some of the ones that are coming out of here. And so the warm, moist air is going to be driven through the ground, and we have one exhaust tank, basically. And so we're going to have all the tubes from these two intake towers coming to this one exhaust tower. This also is going to be two barrels stacked on one another. And so you can see kind of what we've done here. We've used both 3 and 4-inch irrigation pipes. We started with the 4-inchers, but because this ground is so hard to dig in for trenching purposes, we decided to stick to these 3-inchers. So we don't know what that's going to mean for the efficiency of this. We'll see. We're doing what's feasible. So you can see here, here's a piece of what we've cut out from a hole in these tanks here, and we're using, like I said, these 3-inch corrugated irrigation duct, and we're connecting it up with these inline couplers that are 3 inches. And the reason we're doing that is because we're using a hole saw that's 3 inches, and that's an exact 3 inches, and these couplers are 3 inches. It's the interior of the tubes that are 3 inches, not the outside of the tubes. So that's something to keep in mind. So we ended up buying special hole saw bits for this project, which I can show in a minute. And since these are recycled drums, you'll see there's a hole right here at the moment. It's a temporary hole. And the reason for that was the drums were used, and there was remnants of stuff still in there. In this case, this was car wash foam that we rinsed out. And since we're not storing water or food in there, we figured we did not need the food grade barrels. We ended up getting the barrels from a company called Colorado Tank and Barrel. Their website is co0zerwwaste.com, and they're based out of Longmont, Colorado. And we got the irrigation tubes at our local hardware store, bought them out basically. And let's see what else. Let me show you some of the tools we've been using. So, like I said, the trenching in this greenhouse was a bear. And in retrospect, we should have had the excavator literally excavate out another 2 or 3 feet for us inside the perimeter. We were concerned at the time that we wanted undisturbed earth under gravel for our foundation wall here, for the knee wall. And so we just had our excavator do a flat surface in through here with the idea that we'd come in afterward to do this trenching. Well, the trenching has been a bear. We tried a ditch witch. That was mostly unsuccessful because most of these trenches are curved, and our ditch witch did not make curves. Plus, there were so many rocks. I mean, this is just a mere sampling of some of the rocks that we've run into, just tons. And so the efficiency of the ditch witch didn't work out so well. So then we switched over to this handy tool, which I highly recommend. This is called an electric jackhammer, and we got it from Amazon, and I don't have a brand. In fact, the box is labeled like this, electric jackhammer with 2 huge bits. It actually came with 3 bits. It came with this shovel-shaped bit here, as well as two bits, one with a flat chisel type end on it, one with more of a pick end on it. And so this has been really handy in here for finishing up the trenching. The shovel's great for the hard clay and soil and gravel, but then if you run into a huge boulder, which we've run into many, this pick has done wonders. And this electric jack is small enough that even someone my size can actually operate it. Some other tools that have been really handy. This rock bar has been we can't live without it. It's definitely something you absolutely need for this job when you're doing all these trenches. Again, in retrospect, we would have had our excavator completely excavate out another 2 feet in the middle of our outer circle here, so that this trenching could be done all at once, and then we could come in and bring the dirt back in. The other issue, though, we would have left this area here. You can kind of see these 2 tanks, these 2 barreled intake exhaust system towers. Well, right in the middle here where all these tools there's going to be a big water tank. It's going to be a 1,200-gallon water tank made with sheet metal and pond liner. And again, that's more of the ground we wanted undisturbed to support all the weight of that water. So, something to keep in mind if you decide to partake of a similar project. Okay, so in these drums, these 55-gallon drums, we have cut these circular holes into the drum, waiting for piping to be fitted into that. And let me show you the tool that we've used. We ended up purchasing this. We had a drill, but it wasn't powerful enough. We ended up getting this one here. It actually has a handle on the side, and that has been really handy for this particular project. And let me tell you why. Because what we're using are these hole saw pieces here. And this one's the 3-incher, and there's a 4-incher that's currently on there. And in order to use it, you need to have a special connector. I think it's called a mandrel. That's fitted for your drill, that's the same size for your drill, and can be used for these hole saws. But basically, in the mandrel, there is that drill bit that's in the middle there, and that starts an initial hole when you start drilling. But once the teeth of the hole saw hits your container there's quite a kickback. So this handle, like I said, has been very handy. And again, it's something that even a weak person like me can do